Balance Growth Show live. I'm Dr. Travis Perry. Now, today I want to discuss a topic in our monologue that I think has been given too much credit: personal development. In my book, Achieving Balance, we talk about myth number 3 that chaos likes to help us get sidetracked with. And that is, if you're struggling in the workaholic trap and you're struggling to have balanced growth in your business, then you need to turn to personal development. Now, I began my journey actually coaching people who were purchasing Joe Vitale, Dale Carnegie, Nightingale Conant authors like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and others material. And I was coaching them. What I found over the years of doing this for these coaches and for their materials is that the focus was on the self. Now, those who came, business owners, entrepreneurs, those who were trying to get into business for themselves, I found the ones that kept coming back again and again and again for additional help when they really needed, some support. I found that as they kept coming back and back for more and more, and they weren't really successful, they didn't get to the next step and come back for more. They are struggling. I started keeping a tally, and I found that the ones who were coming back over and over again were actually the ones who either didn't have a great relationship with their spouse, or there was no relationship with that spouse. And so I started to dive deeper into this and really try to figure out why. Why was this such an issue? Where is this phenomenon actually coming from? At the same time, my last class in my psychology degree, it was my last study of a certain topic in psychology. And we were trying to understand better motivation and why people do what they do with goals, etc. What's interesting is I came across a study called the Revised Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs study. It was done in 2010. Now, if I say Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs, I guarantee you that most people within the sound of my voice are going to know exactly what that is, even if they don't know exactly what that is. They know it's about motivation, and they know it's about, well, you need to have some physical protection, you need to have belongingness, esteem, and eventually at the top of this pyramid, the Maslow's pyramid, is something called self-actualization. Self-actualization, Maslow even mentioned, as he theorized, most people don't ever actually attain. Now, fast forward, psychologists in 2010, again, these are not family people, these are psychologists. Psychologists actually found, as they studied this theory that was given to us in the 1940s by Abraham Maslow, they found there was actually little evidence at all, and actually more evidence to disprove Maslow's theory of self-actualization being the highest motivation. You see, the Abraham Maslow's model is all about the self. What can I do to fulfill me? How do I belong? How do I have actualization in my life or accomplishment? This supernatural feeling of being able to accomplish one's purpose, which I believe we should have purpose, right? I totally get that. I'm all about purpose. But the revised theory took a look at Abraham Maslow's 1940s theory and said, this actually, there's no evidence in the research on this, so let's theorize on something new and improved. The new and improved pyramid, which I actually have in my book, Achieving Balance, you can get it at achievingbalancebook.com. The revised pyramid, at the very top, instead of self-actualization, had parenting. Now, again, these are evolutionary psychologists, and these are human developmental psychologists. They study individuals, they study the needs of individuals. They're not looking at families, but they found over and over again in their research that parenting was the highest motivation in life for the population. Second to that was mate retention. And third was mate acquisition. Essentially, marriage and family, parenting and coupleship, however you want to say it. That is the highest motivator for most Americans today. Now, regardless of political background, regardless of what we call family or how we respect marriage or disrespect marriage or what it's been through, that fact remains. Parenting and marriage, highest motivation. So, when we turn to personal development, it's an Abraham Maslow, very self-focused start. It's a beginning, and it should be just that. It should be a beginning. You should improve yourself, your talents, your abilities, your time that you make for certain priorities in your life. However, anyone that I've ever trained or have worked with to help get out of the workaholic trap and really have balanced growth in their business doesn't stop with personal development. What I've seen are those who are able to get out of the workaholic trap have support systems. They have family support and they give family support. One thing I recommend is to have a family council every week. During a family council, parents lead the discussion. You can allow your children to lead the discussion, which we have done from time to time, but parents usually lead the discussion and talk about the time that they're going to be spending with the children, with the family, where people are going. So essentially looking at the calendar for the week, for the month, other events in the future, go ahead and talk about them, discuss them. So the children and family have an expectation. Two, you should be looking at what your family's goals are. What are we doing together? How are we doing this? How well are we working towards our family goals? And third, we should be supporting each other's individual goals as a family, meaning if someone is trying to run a half marathon, how are we supporting that person? Are we showing up to their races? Are we running with them? Are we giving them grace by doing their responsibilities if they're gone training? What are we doing to help that and support that individual? And then when they achieve their individual goals, we should be supporting them, cheering them on, clapping for them. For example, my son Ryan recently graduated from high school and from basically the Perry Academy. We do homeschool, but he's finished that part of his life and is moving on. He's actually already enrolled in college about a couple of years ago. But regardless, he's moving on to this additional phase, and he's also been called to serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Cusco, Peru. So last night we celebrated. We went out to dinner. We had some Peruvian food at a local international restaurant here in Little Logan, Utah. It was fantastic. We love it. It's called Lomo Sotaro. It's beautiful. Well, the dinner plate was called Lomo Sotaro. It's a restaurant called Sabores. So if you're ever in Logan, Utah, Sabores is the place. If you want international food, they have stuff from all over the place. It's wonderful. So we celebrated with him. We supported him in his goals, in his achievements. How are we supporting our family? And how are we allowing our family to support us? For example, if I'm away on business, if I'm going to give a speech, then I'm going to ask my sons to look out for this, and watch out for that. My wife is going to take over some of the things that I do in the home. We're going to support each other. And I will figure out ways that I can support my wife even while I'm gone, send messages, call, FaceTime, whatever I can do to keep that connection strong. On the couple side, on the marriage side, I believe it's even more important. Family support is good. If you're married, your number one fan should and always will be your spouse. If it's not, I believe that's where you start. Start with your spouse. If that relationship is really struggling, what is it that you need to do to work on that? What my wife and I do is, and we follow strengths-based research, couples who do this well. I've studied this literally for dozens of years. And part of my dissertation was to look at what do couples actually do well to support each other. Now, there's a tale of two Johns here. John Gray wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Okay? It was an international best-selling book that's continued for decades, translated in several different languages. The reach is incredible. The premise is totally false. In my sociology class at Brigham Young University, one of the first things we learned about in relationships is actually birds of a feather flock together. Opposites actually don't attract. Birds of a feather flock together, meaning our values, our goals, our drive, our direction. We are connecting with people who are more similar to us than are dissimilar. In fact, when you meet someone for the first time, if there's something in common, you latch onto the commonality. Now, over time, if we've built a relationship together, what happens is we tend to see the things that are different in that person, and we tend to think, oh, they're definitely my opposite. Now, it's not true, it's just our perception. We're actually more similar than we are different, but we focus on the differences. And some of those differences are very complementary. And research does show that having complementary personalities, for example, or attitudes might be helpful as long as you're on the same page, going the same direction, having the same goals, you're going to be okay. But if you find someone that's complementary and you guys are opposites on goals and values, good luck. It's just not going to work out long term. Okay. John Gottman discovered most of this. He has a love lab in Washington where he can actually bring couples into his lab and by 97% predict if they are going to stay married or get divorced. So, tale of two Johns. John Gray, fantastic marketer. And his theory has put more problems into marriages than I can honestly say. I've seen research that shows that John Gray's message of men are from Mars, women are from Venus has actually done more harm than good. John Gottman, his methodologies, his books, I've got one right here on my bookshelf. It's on this other side. It's called The 7 Principles to Make Marriage Work by John Gottman. Highly recommend it. I'm a John Gottman fan. I used his theory for my research, and my dissertation found that couples who have shared values and goals are actually happier psychologically, they are more satisfied in their marriage, and they are more financially stable than those who are dissimilar. Fascinating stuff. So why do I even bring this up? Well, because if you and your spouse are not on the same team, you don't have couple goals, then you may be working apart. You don't know because you haven't tracked it likely. So you need to be on the same page, going the same direction, set goals with each other, and work on those goals together. Help each other, support each other in those goals as a couple. In addition, just like family support, you need to have couple support or teamwork on those goals. You need to work together, but also you need to support the individual's goals. John Gottman calls this his house theory, where the most important thing is support each other's goals and dreams, or to have shared goals and dreams. And the second is to support each other's goals and dreams. What is it that you want? That's the personal development side, right? Your goals, your dreams, your vision. But your spouse should help you in support of that. I've found the family support and couple support to be the two most important external factors in you staying balanced long term. And as your business is growing, keeping that balance that you either once had or that you want to continue to have, so that as it grows, you don't lose your balance. I'm Dr. Perry. Thank you for joining us on the Balanced Growth Show. Until next time, like, share, subscribe, send this to someone who might need this today. And remember, live life on purpose.